The annual Henderson family Christmas gathering was in full swing at my stepmother Diana's mansion, a place where wealth was measured by the size of gifts and the designer labels everyone wore. I sat quietly by the fireplace, dressed in what they assumed was my best attempt at formal wear. In reality, it was a custom Chanel suit that cost more than their monthly mortgages combined. "Look what Sophia got me," my stepsister Melissa squealed, unwrapping another expensive handbag. "A limited edition Hermès. Daddy's company must be doing so well." I smiled politely, thinking about the hostile takeover of their precious family business that would be announced right after the holidays. Sometimes revenge required perfect timing. "And what did you bring, Alexandra?" Diana asked with false sweetness, eyeing the small package in my lap. "Something homemade again?" The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward me. Last year's handmade gift, actually a rare artisan piece I had commissioned, had been a running joke in their circles for months. "Just a small token," I replied softly, thinking about the private island I had bought last week. The one that made Diana's mansion look like a guest house. My father shifted uncomfortably in his leather armchair. Since marrying Diana 5 years ago, he had slowly adopted her family's materialistic values, forgetting the lessons about true worth he once taught me. "Well," Melissa smirked, adjusting her new designer watch, "at least you brought something. Must be hard with your, what do you call it, consulting business." If only they knew. AJ Global, the mysterious consulting firm revolutionizing international business, was mine. Their precious family company was only surviving because I had delayed signing the acquisition papers until after Christmas. "It pays the bills," I said quietly, watching Diana flinch at such a common phrase. "Speaking of bills," my stepbrother Thomas chimed in, "I heard you moved out of that tiny apartment downtown. Finally admit defeat and move back to the suburbs." I thought of my new penthouse, an entire top floor of the city's most exclusive building. Paid in cash, while they bragged about their mortgaged McMansions. "Found a new place," I replied vaguely, checking my phone. A message from my CFO, James. "Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund confirmed. Ready when you are." "Probably another rental," Melissa stage whispered to her mother. "Some people just can't handle real estate investment." "Real estate?" I nearly laughed, thinking of my property portfolio spanning 3 continents. Skyscrapers, hotels, private residences, assets that generated more monthly income than their business made in a year. "Alexandra," Diana said with practiced concern, "your father and I have been talking. There's an entry-level position opening at Henderson Corporation. Something to give you a fresh start." A fresh start. While they plotted my corporate salvation, I was orchestrating the biggest business deal in the city's history, the deal that would put their company under my control. "That's thoughtful," I managed, just as my phone buzzed again. Another message from James, "Private jet fueled and ready. Dubai team expecting us at midnight." See. Diana beamed at my father. "I told you she'd come around. Everyone needs help sometimes." Help. Like when they tried to block my inheritance from my mother, forcing me to build my empire from scratch. That trust fund they tied up in legal battles was pocket change compared to what I had created on my own. "Time for gifts," Melissa announced, clearly eager to showcase more of her expensive presents. "Alexandra, why don't you go first? Show us what you managed to afford this year." The room filled with poorly concealed snickers. I reached for the small package in my lap, wrapped in simple gold paper. "It's not much," I said modestly, handing identical small boxes to each family member. "Just something I thought you might appreciate." "How quaint," Diana murmured delicately, unwrapping hers. Inside each box was a single stock certificate. "Stock?" Thomas laughed. "In what? Some startup?" "AJ Global," I replied quietly. The room went utterly still. Even Diana's perfect composure cracked slightly. That's impossible," my father whispered. "AJ Global doesn't issue public stock. Nobody knows who owns it." "Actually," I smiled, standing up, "somebody does." Right on cue, Harrison, my personal butler, who had been posing as Diana's new holiday help, entered the room. "Miss Alexandra," he announced formally, "your private jet is fueled and ready for the Dubai meeting. The Sovereign Wealth Fund representatives are expecting you at midnight." The silence that followed was delicious. Private jet? There must be some mistake, Diana stammered. Alexandra doesn't own the world's largest private consulting firm. I finished for her. I do. AJ Global. Alexandra James Global. Though I suppose I should have mentioned that earlier. Melissa frantically Googled on her phone, her new Hermès bag forgotten. This says AJ Global is worth, that's impossible, $50 billion. $50 billion as of this morning, I confirmed, checking my watch. Though after the Dubai deal, that number will probably double. Thomas lunged for his laptop, pulling up financial news. AJ Global, they're the ones buying up major corporations worldwide. They just acquired Henderson Corp, I supplied helpfully. The paperwork finalizes next week. Consider those stock certificates your severance packages. My father stood up, face ashen. You're buying my company. Already bought it, I corrected gently. Those certificates are just courtesy copies. The board approved the sale last month. Your social circle seemed quite excited about the offer. Diana's hands trembled as she gripped her wine glass. The board meetings, the sudden overseas investors, that was you. I nodded. Amazing what people reveal over cocktails when they think they're talking to old money. But you live in that small apartment, Melissa stammered. You wear the same clothes all the time. I smoothed my Chanel suit. This same outfit costs more than your car. As for the apartment, I own the building, along with most of the luxury real estate in the city's financial district. Harrison reappeared with a tablet. Miss, the Dubai team is asking about the Henderson integration timeline. Also, the designers need your approval for the new headquarters redesign. The headquarters? Thomas choked. You're redesigning our headquarters. My headquarters now, I reminded him sweetly. But you're welcome to apply for positions in the new organization. I hear the entry-level roles are quite character-building. Diana stood up, her mask of elegance finally cracking. This is absurd. You're nothing but a billionaire. I suggested. Global business leader? The person who now controls your financial future. I smiled. Amazing how perspectives change, isn't it? My phone buzzed again. More messages from the Dubai team. Tonight's meeting would shock not just my family, but the entire business world. Why? My father asked quietly. Why all the secrecy? Why let us think you were struggling? I walked to the window, watching my private jet gleam under the airport lights. Because you taught me something valuable. Sometimes the best success is built in silence, away from those who would diminish it. Melissa clutched her stock certificate. These shares, they're worth more than everything in this room combined. Correct, I said. Consider it my Christmas gift. Though I should mention, they are non-voting shares. I learned about keeping control from your family. Harrison approached once more. Miss Alexandra, the car is ready whenever you'd like to depart. I gathered my things, including the leather briefcase they had mocked earlier. Exotic leather, handcrafted for billionaire clients only. Well, I said cheerfully, this has been festive. But I have a meeting in Dubai to attend. Harrison will provide details about the Henderson transition. I suggest you all update your resumes. As I headed for the door, Diana made one last desperate attempt to regain control. You can't just leave, it was Christmas Eve. We're family, my father said softly. I turned back slowly, savoring the moment. Family? Like when you contested my mother's will. When you tried to force me into that suitable corporate job. When you told everyone I was having a mental breakdown for starting my own business. We were trying to help, my father protested weakly. Help. I laughed quietly. By belittling every achievement? By mocking my consulting work at every family gathering? That kind of help. Thomas stepped forward, his banker's mind finally catching up. The market analysis reports, the strategic recommendations that saved Henderson Corp last year, that was AJ Global. Actually, that was just me, I corrected him. A personal project, you might say. I wanted to see if your management team could implement basic business strategy. The results were enlightening. My phone buzzed again. The Dubai team had sent updated contracts. The deal we were about to sign would reshape global finance, though my family was still struggling to reshape their understanding of me. But your apartment, Melissa said, still stuck on appearances. Your clothes, your lifestyle. You mean my penthouse that takes up the entire top floor of the Aurora building? The custom-designed wardrobe that costs more than this house? The lifestyle that includes private islands and a fleet of jets? I smiled. Amazing what you can hide when people are too busy judging surfaces to look deeper. Harrison appeared with another update. Miss Alexandra, the Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund chairman, is asking if you'd like to have dinner with his family next week. Apparently, his daughter is a fan of your economic theories. Pie, what? Diana sputtered. Oh, right, I said innocently. Did I forget to mention the books? Those economic papers published under A.J. Morgan that revolutionized modern finance theory. The same ones Thomas kept quoting at board meetings, trying to sound intelligent. Thomas collapsed into the nearest chair, his face a mixture of horror and humiliation. The acquisition papers will be delivered tomorrow, I continued, checking my watch. Consider it my Christmas gift to Henderson Corp., saving it from your spectacular mismanagement. You planned this, my father realized. All of it. The timing. The revelation. Of course, I agreed. Though you made it remarkably easy. So focused on appearances, on status, on your narrow definition of success, that you never noticed the empire being built right under your noses. I reached into my cheap briefcase and pulled out a folder. Here's a preview of tomorrow's Financial Times. I thought you might want to be prepared. Diana grabbed the paper, her hands shaking as she read the headline. AJ Global founder revealed, Alexandra James takes center stage in historic Dubai deal. The media will be here by morning, I added. I've arranged for a crisis management team to help you handle the attention. Consider it a final act of family courtesy. Melissa clutched her stock certificate like a lifeline. These shares, we could sell them. You could, I nodded. Though I should mention they have a 5-year lockup period. I learned about controlling assets from watching your mother manage her social circle. Harrison reappeared. Miss Alexandra, the car is ready. As I walked toward the door, my father made one last attempt. Princess, he said, using my childhood nickname for the first time in years. We can talk about this. Work something out. I paused, remembering all the times I had wanted his approval, his understanding, his support. We had years to talk, Dad. Years when you chose their values over our relationship. Now, I turned away. Now we'll talk through our respective legal teams. The drive to the airport was quiet, the city's Christmas lights twinkling like stars. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from family members, ranging from threats, to pleas, to desperate negotiations. Shall I have the team respond? Harrison asked. No need, I replied, watching my jet come into view. They'll learn about professional communication when the acquisition teams arrive tomorrow. The next morning, as global media exploded with the news of AJ Global's founder and the historic Dubai deal, I sat in my private suite 40,000 feet above the Atlantic, reviewing the coverage. My phone showed missed calls from every family member, along with desperate messages from Henderson Corp executives suddenly realizing who they had been dismissing all these years. I sent them all the same response, a copy of my first business card, the one they had laughed at 5 years ago, with a handwritten note, Merry Christmas. Remember, appearances can be deceiving. Epilogue. 1 year later, Diana's mansion was sold at auction, part of Henderson Corp's restructuring. I bought it, of course, through a shell company. Not to live in, my penthouse was far more elegant. No, I turned it into something they'd never expect, a business incubator for entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when the first startup to emerge from the program was valued higher than Henderson Corp's peak market cap. Now, every Christmas I host a gathering there, not for family, but for young innovators building their own dreams. And on the wall, where Diana once hung her family portraits, sits a simple framed photo, me in my cheap clothes, sitting in my small apartment, quietly building an empire while they weren't looking. After all, the best success stories are written by those everyone underestimated. Last week, I received a handwritten letter from Melissa. She's now an entry-level analyst at one of AJ Global's subsidiaries, though she doesn't know I own it. The letter was an apology, admitting she finally understands what real success means. I pinned it to my office wall, right next to the stock certificate from my very first company, the hobby business they had mocked. Together, they tell a story of transformation, not just of wealth, but of perspective. Diana now teaches business etiquette at a community college, ironically lecturing about the importance of not judging people by appearances. Thomas works middle management at a regional bank, no longer bragging about his financial genius. And my father? He sends a Christmas card every year, always signing it with the same words, "I should have believed in you." The family mansion, now the underestimated club, has launched over 30 successful startups, each founder carrying a piece of my story as inspiration. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's turning their mistakes into opportunities for others.